Hello everyone, this is Remlaze from 40k Theories, and welcome to the March edition of the Patreon Q&A sessions. As always, if you want your questions answered, click the link in the video description and help support the channel by becoming a patron. Now, let's have a look at these questions, shall we? Felix Argyle asks, will you do a cooking video? I mean, I could, but why would you want to see such a thing? Unless you want me to do something similar to Brian Zane's Kayfabe Kitchen, where I do a bunch of Warhammer themed recipes. That could work, actually. Brent Feast asks, in a novel Black Legion, it's stated that Thakers Daravek of the Death Guard was just as likely to become the War Master as Ezekiel Abaddon. But since he was already a champion of Nurgle at the time, wouldn't that have given Nurgle a massive leg up in the Great Game? Why would Khorne, Slaanesh and especially Tzeentch tolerate it? Well, Daravek was... yes, he was blessed by Nurgle, but he wasn't a Demon Prince of Nurgle, so Nurgle didn't actually hold 100% ownership over Daravek. In older editions of the game, you could have Chaos Lords who have multiple marks of chaos. I mean, it didn't just have to be one mark of chaos, you could have one with 1, 2, 3 or even all 4 marks of chaos. There's also the story Wrath of Kharn by Bill King, which appeared in an old issue of Inferno back in the day. And in the story, Kharn ends up encountering a demon of Slaanesh who tries to bring him under the sway of Slaanesh. So just because Daravek himself is currently using Nurgle as his patron, there's nothing to stop one of the other Chaos Gods from coming in and having Daravek become one of their servants instead. It would cause conflict between the Chaos Gods, but that's part of the Great Game. It's like, hey, that's a nice chess piece, I think I'll take it. Luke Welsh asks, could the Necrons theoretically win a war of attrition against the Tyranids? They have little to no biomass and their weapons tear apart molecules, which would be difficult if not impossible for them to defend against. You'd think that initially, but after looking through the story Devourer, which actually has a Hive Fleet attack a Tomb World, the Necrons on that Tomb World were effectively buggered. The Nids were so all-encompassing in such a great horde that they were actually preventing the Necrons from phasing out because there were such oppressive bodies. It took the Cryptek of the Tomb World activating a chronomancy device to send a huge bunch of the Hive Fleet 60 million years into the past, back into the war in heaven, for them just to get a reprieve, and even then, the Nids were still encroaching on them fast, so considering how many Nids there are, and there's still more coming into the galaxy every day, I think the Nids have got a leg up, because there's only a finite number of Necrons that can be made with new bodies. I mean, yes, you can download personalities and engrams into new bodies, but they degrade over time, and let's be honest, when Necrons don't have a functioning lord, they become little more than just mindless automata. It's very easy to fuck them over. I still remember in Fall of Damnos, when one of the Necron Lords died, the nearby Necrons just basically shut down and would not attack unless there was anything in the immediate vicinity. They would not go out searching for new foes, so it rendered them effectively defenseless. So all in all, in a war between Necrons and Tyranids, my money's on the Tyranids. Warrior of Virtue asks, what if instead of establishing the High Lords of Terror, Guilliman had formed a ruling council consisting of himself and the other surviving Primarchs? How might things have gone differently? If that was the case, then everything would have gone to shit a hell of a lot quicker, because all the Loyalist Primarchs eventually disappeared. And once all the Primarchs have disappeared, you're going to have someone in charge, so the High Lords will be formed anyway. So I don't think it would actually make that much of a difference, in fairness, in the grand scheme of things. Brent Feast again asks, if GW continues to stand by their statement that Be'lakor is the only undivided demon prince, what gods do you think Lorgar and Perturabo will be aligned with? Funnily enough, I remember seeing someone ask this to the Warhammer community team on Facebook, and their response was, yes, but Primarchs are worth more than mortals or something to that effect. So, Be'lakor is the only undivided demon prince who was a normal human or Xenos or whatever, officially. But Lorgar and Perturabo are undivided demon princes, and they got that because they were Primarchs, essentially. So, I don't think it's as much a contradiction. I think it's more a case of Be'lakor is the only undivided demon prince who was a regular mortal and not someone like a Primarch. Zero Hits asks, in regards to 40k stories, be they official or fanworks, do you have a favourite kind you enjoy to read? Apart from Caiaphas Cain, since that's hard not to enjoy. I'll be honest, I haven't really read much, if any, Caiaphas Cain, so I can't really comment on that. I prefer stories that have more plot development, as opposed to out-and-out action. I mean, action's good if it's written well, but sometimes I find the stuff you generally wouldn't find interesting to be interesting, if that makes sense. Like, with Watchers on the Throne, for example. That was split between 3 different points of view. A Sister of Silence, a Custodian, and a Politician. And in fairness, the Politician's story was really interesting because you got to see a side of the Imperium you generally don't. Another story I really enjoyed as of late was Emperor's Eye as part of the Necromunda stories bundle, which is literally just focusing on a Ratskin Brave completing a quest for his tribe. And that was really good. It was really well written. I wish I remember who wrote it though, because it was really good. Brent Feast again asks, who would be the biggest arch-nemesis of the Emperor's children? The Iron Hands, the World Eaters, the Craftworld Eldar, the Ultramarines, or the Black Legion? It seems like they pissed off pretty much everyone. Because they have pissed off pretty much everyone. Right now, I think the biggest nemesis for the Emperor's children is Fabius Bile, because everyone in the Legion hates him. So, at some point you're going to get the Emperor's children versus the Consortium, which would be pretty awesome. Austin Horner asks, in the novel Nemesis, there is a character referred to as Spear who is a black pariah, a being genetically engineered by the Calexis to be able to absorb and redirect the energies of Psychers without the assistance of war gear, so long as he could establish a biological link beforehand. After ordering the destruction of Spear, the black ship carrying him was intercepted by the traitor legions. He fell under the control of Erebus, who sent him on a mission to destroy the Emperor by gaining a drop of blood from a rogue traitor Warrant, which he succeeded in getting, only to be killed by the remains of an execution force sent to kill Horus. Would this attempt actually have been able to work, or would the psychic energies of the Emperor have overpowered Spear and forced him to essentially self-destruct? That's a really interesting question. I'm not entirely sure. I mean, given that we have artwork of the Emperor standing in really close proximity to Sisters of Silence, and a lot of them as well, and showing no obvious signs of discomfort, I think Spear could potentially, at the very least, really badly harmed the Emperor, to the point where maybe the Emperor might have had to been interred into the Golden Throne earlier. But I'm not sure if he would have been able to kill the Emperor completely. And in regards to a psychic backlash, yes, I think the Emperor's energies would have killed Spear, considering that in Demonifuge, Ephrael Sturm manages to kill a Calexis assassin using her psychic powers. Yes, I know it's a contradiction about blanks being hurt by psychers, but it's established that Ephrael Sturm was absurdly powerful, like Alpha Plus class. And not only that, but she had all the souls of an entire Sisters of Battle convent inside her. So she was kind of like a, I suppose you could say, Empress, in a way. But yeah, the Emperor's energies would have killed Spear, in my opinion. And the last question comes from the Stabby Brit. How do you join the Adeptus Mechanicus? Do you have to be born into the cult, or can you be a regular human and join the Tech Priests later? Off the top of my head, I'm not entirely sure. I know with the Astartes, new recruits, a portion of them are sent to Mars to be trained into being tech priests, and they become members of the cult Mechanicus. So, I think that you can join them on some worlds at the very least, because the Mechanicus aren't restricted to just Hive worlds and Forge worlds and stuff like that. I remember in 15 Hours they mentioned that the water pump for the crops had to have a tech adept come and examine it. It wasn't a full-blown tech priest per se, but it was a tech adept of some kind. Like, someone who's been trained by the cult Mechanicus but isn't a fully fledged tech priest, if that makes sense. So I think you can be trained in the art of the cult Mechanicus and become part of the religion. It would be in a manner similar to how, one would convert to another religion in this day and age, in my opinion. In regards to those who were born or grown on Mechanicus-controlled worlds, I think they would essentially be born into the religion. There might be a source out there that states the exact nature on how to join the Mechanicus, but for the life of me, I don't know what it is off the top of my head. And that concludes this edition of the Patreon Q&A sessions. As mentioned earlier, if you want to have your question answered, click the link in the video description below, support the channel on Patreon, and submit your question. Until next time, this has been Remlace from 40k Theories, and we'll see you again soon. Bye bye.